Once upon a time, in the ancient land of Moab, there lived a young woman named Ruth. Ruth was known throughout her community for her kindness, compassion, and unwavering loyalty. She had been born into a family of Moabites, a people who lived in the region east of the Jordan River. But her life took a dramatic turn when she married into a Hebrew family. Ruth married a man named Mahlon, who was the son of Elimelech and Naomi. Elimelech and Naomi were from Bethlehem in Judah, but they had moved to Moab during a time of famine in their homeland. Sadly, Mahlon and his brother Chilion died, leaving Ruth a widow, along with her mother-in-law Naomi, who was also widowed. Despite the hardships they faced, Ruth remained devoted to Naomi. When Naomi decided to return to Bethlehem, Ruth insisted on accompanying her, even though it meant leaving behind her own family and homeland. Ruth's famous words to Naomi expressed her deep commitment. "Where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God." So, Ruth and Naomi set out on the journey to Bethlehem together. When they arrived, Ruth took it upon herself to provide for their needs. She went to the fields to glean leftover grain after the harvesters, following the custom of the time that allowed the poor to gather food from the fields of the wealthy. As fate would have it, Ruth ended up gleaning in the fields belonging to a man named Boaz, who was a relative of Naomi's late husband. Boaz was struck by Ruth's beauty and her industriousness, and he showed her favor, instructing his workers to leave extra grain for her to gather. Ruth was both surprised and grateful for Boaz's kindness. She worked tirelessly in the fields, gathering grain from morning until evening, and every day, she returned home to Naomi with an ample supply of food. As the harvest season drew to a close, Naomi saw an opportunity for Ruth to secure her future. In accordance with the customs of the time, Naomi encouraged Ruth to approach Boaz and request his protection as her kinsman redeemer. This meant that Boaz, as a close relative of Mahlon, had the responsibility to marry Ruth and provide for her, thus ensuring that Mahlon's family line would continue. Ruth followed Naomi's instructions and approached Boaz while he was sleeping on the threshing floor. She uncovered his feet and lay down at his feet. When Boaz awoke and saw Ruth there, he was surprised but impressed by her courage and humility. Boaz praised Ruth for her kindness and loyalty to Naomi and promised to do everything in his power to help her. He agreed to act as her kinsman redeemer, but he explained that there was another relative who had a closer claim to the role. So, Boaz went to the town gate, where the elders of the city gathered to conduct business and legal matters. He confronted the other relative and presented him with the opportunity to redeem the property of Elimelech and marry Ruth. But when the man learned that this would also require him to raise up children for Mahlon's family line, he declined, fearing that it would jeopardize his own inheritance. With the other relative's refusal, Boaz was free to fulfill his role as Ruth's kinsman redeemer. He took Ruth as his wife, and they were married in the presence of the elders and the people of Bethlehem. And soon after, Ruth bore a son named Obed. Obed would grow up to become the father of Jesse, who would in turn become the father of King David, the great ruler of Israel. And from the line of David would come the ultimate redeemer, Jesus Christ. Ruth's story is one of courage, loyalty, and faithfulness. Despite the challenges she faced as a widow and a foreigner, she remained steadfast in her commitment to her family and her God. And through her faithfulness, she became a part of the lineage of the Messiah, playing a crucial role in God's plan of redemption for the world. Now, let's journey to the kingdom of Persia, where another remarkable woman would rise to prominence. In the capital city of Susa, there lived a young Jewish woman named Esther. Esther was an orphan, raised by her cousin Mordecai, who served in the king's palace as a scribe. Esther was known for her beauty and her kindness, and she quickly caught the eye of King Xerxes, who was seeking a new queen after deposing his previous wife, Queen Vashti. Esther was chosen as one of the candidates for the royal harem, and she was eventually selected to be the new queen. But Esther kept her Jewish identity a secret, following Mordecai's advice to conceal her heritage. Little did she know that this decision would soon be put to the test. Mordecai had uncovered a plot to assassinate the king, and he informed Esther of the danger. Esther, in turn, relayed the information to the king, giving credit to Mordecai for his loyalty and vigilance. Meanwhile, the king's chief advisor, a man named Haman, had risen to power in the kingdom. Haman was arrogant and ambitious, and he expected everyone to bow down to him in reverence. But Mordecai, being a devout Jew, refused to bow to anyone but God, which enraged Haman and fueled his desire for revenge. Haman devised a wicked plan to destroy Mordecai and all the Jews in the kingdom. He convinced King Xerxes to issue a decree authorizing the extermination of the Jewish people on a specific date. When Mordecai learned of this decree, he was devastated. He tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and ashes, mourning the impending doom of his people. He sent word to Esther, urging her to use her position as queen to intercede on behalf of her people. At first, Esther was hesitant to approach the king. According to Persian law, anyone who entered the king's presence without being summoned risked death, unless the king extended his golden scepter in welcome. And Esther had not been summoned by the king for over a month. But Mordecai urged Esther not to remain silent in the face of such grave danger. He reminded her that perhaps she had been placed in her position as queen for such a time as this. So, Esther summoned her courage and devised a plan. She invited the king and Haman to a banquet in her honor, where she would make her appeal. At the banquet, Esther revealed her Jewish identity to the king and pleaded with him to spare her people. King Xerxes was shocked and enraged by the news that his queen was among those targeted for destruction. He demanded to know who had dared to issue such a decree. When Esther pointed to Haman as the mastermind behind the plot, the king's anger burned against him. Haman was seized and ultimately executed on the very gallows he had prepared for Mordecai. And King Xerxes issued a new decree, granting the Jews the right to defend themselves against their enemies. On the appointed day, the Jews rose up and fought against those who sought to destroy them, and they emerged victorious. Welcome to Spiritual Stories, your go-to destination for. If you enjoy insightful discussions, entertaining videos, and valuable content, you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on our latest uploads, share our videos with your friends, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Your support means the world to us and helps us grow. Let's embark on this journey together. Hit that subscribe button, share the love, and let's create something amazing. Thanks for joining us.